How do we take boring shots and turn them into this? Right before we jump into the editing, I want to touch up on which camera I'm using and which lens. So for this cinematic shot, I've used the Sony Alpha 7 Mark III with a Tamarind lens 28 to 75 millimeter with a 2.8 f-stop. In shots that included more snow, I tried to up the f-stop to f4 or even 5.6 in order for the shot not to be completely blown out. As you can see in some of them, it didn't turn out that great. And if you want to be slowing down your shots, you're gonna want to use 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second. And without further ado, let's jump into the editing. Right here we have the finished clip, and I left a raw version right next to it. So we can first take a look on how the video would look without any transitions, without any color grading, just the raw footage cut together. Here we go. Keep walking a bit. So we're going to be breaking down every step I took in order to turn this footage from quite boring and dull into more interesting and more cinematic. For music, I like to use Artlist. You can choose music according to your mood, according to the video theme, or even according to instruments. Now, if you don't want to pay the yearly subscription to Artlist or Epidemic Sound, you can easily go into YouTube Music Library and you can just search for some free music right here. So one thing I would definitely not be lazy about is organizing all of your files in folders. Trust me, it would save so much time down the road. So as you can see, I have all of my files organized right here. This is where we can find all the shots. I even named some of them according to what we actually see in the shot. These are the effects, which are basically the adjustment layers I'm going to be using. Right here is the sound effect. So this is everything, including the music and the whoosh and whoosh that was used throughout the video. So what I did here was nothing too fancy. I just took a LUT that I purchased from Gerald Undone. I put it on the clip and they already look a lot better. Now for the last clip, it was a little bit more tricky since it was a little bit blown out. So what I did here, I've upped the contrast to 14.5, makes it look a little bit moodier and nicer. Tiny adjustment, took the highlights down -3.6 and reduced the black by 20. Now you can see without the tweaks that I've done, just looks a little bit more flat and boring. And with the tweaks, just looks a little bit better, a little bit moodier and a little bit more dramatic generally. Now, if you don't have a LUT you already purchased, don't worry. We're gonna go through an easy way for you to color grade your videos. First thing first, I'm gonna go to saturation and I'm gonna give it a little bit more color just to make the clip looks a little bit more vivid. Now, the temperature would make it a little bit warmer perhaps, just a tiny bit. Take the exposure down maybe by 0.1, a little bit more contrast to make it a little bit more dramatic. Reduce the shadows a little bit. One cool trick I definitely like using nowadays is if there is one specific color you would like to emphasize or de-emphasize, you can just go ahead and pick it with this eyedropper tool, and then you can just start pulling these colors down or up in order to get the result that you want. I would like this picture to get a little bit more bluish colors. As you can see, the sky are really blue and I want to emphasize it. These sky look a little bit dull in my opinion. So what you can do, you can just go ahead here and increase, make it look a little bit more vivid. So this green grass looks kind of gray and boring. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna select it with the eyedropper tool and I'm gonna increase the green shades in the picture. Now let's go ahead and take a look how our picture looks without the correction. And now with, I think it looks a lot better. So personally, when I color grade, I just try to make the picture look a little bit more vivid and a little bit more dramatic. I think we can all agree that this looks much better than this. So whether we are using a LUT or not, you can see that within few minutes you can make your shot look a lot better just with some basic color grading and color correction. Now, when you're color grading, each clip has different colors, obviously, different exposure, different ISO that it was filmed with. What is optimal to do is obviously create a grade for each and every clip. But what I did, I used basically the same adjustment layer for most of the video. And then just for my last shot, which is quite blown out, I used a different adjustment layer. And that is it. In this video, I'm not going to be breaking down the exact color grading that I used, but we're going to give an overview of the entire workflow. This is my first tutorial, so if there is any topic you would like me to go deeper into, please let me know in the comment section below. So after throwing the necessary grading, we started with some speed ramp. Now, this first shot is quite boring, in my opinion. What we can do that makes the shot immediately more cinematic is change the speed. This next clip is honestly quite horrible. I'm walking towards the branch, the shot is a bit shaky. So what I decided to do, I took the parts which were the shakiest within the shots and I just speed ramped the shit out of them. So as you can see, I ramped it up to 1360% of the original speed. So what we get is this zoom in effect on the branch, which is the subject of this shot. Now, in order to make it even more cinematic, you can add a little whoosh sound here. If you don't know where to get a whoosh sound, just go on YouTube and type whoosh sounds free and you find a bunch of them. So there we go. We turned this into this. Now, this next shot is basically just the branch. Shouldn't be too long. Keep the video engaging, interesting. So the next shot is basically these nice leaves on the log. What I did to make it a little bit more cinematic, just to make the transition smoother and nice, I speed ramped it at the end all the way up to 700. And I dragged out the ramp a little bit so it would be a little bit more gradual and not so hard. Now for the next clip, I've also ramped it up a bit faster at the beginning and then gradually slowed it down. As you can see, I also changed the speed of the clip to 80%, just makes it look a little bit more cinematic, slow and nice. So let's have a look at it. Vroom, vroom. Love that. So let's continue to our next clip. So nothing too special here, just a tiny speed ramp at the end to make this a little bit smoother. So this shot was actually, let's go ahead and look at the original footage. This shot was actually quite shaky and terrible, but you can actually use this kind of shakiness to your advantage. So basically, if we use this shakiness to our benefit, we get this little blur and we can use it as a nice transition to lead us to our next clip. So we can see it here. So this shot, I just slowed it down to 25%. You can go as low as 20, usually when you're filming with 120 frames per second. So this shot of Megan walking was slowed down to 40%. And again, there's this shaky part in which I'm going from filming her back to filming her feet. And instead of just leaving it shaky, we added a little time ramp here. We've upped it all the way to 1250. And yeah, looks a lot better. Add a little whoosh to it. So this effect is nothing special. I just took this one from the effects panel in Premiere Pro. It's called VR Lightlicks. I don't know why, but I liked it. It looks kind of funky. So when you watch it fast with the little whoosh sound, it goes like this. Okay. And for that last shot of me in Lake Louise, nothing special, 25%, a different color grade since this shot is completely blown out, but I still find it kind of cool with the trees and the snow. So final thing, which is super simple yet adds so much production value. Go over to the effects panel and type in crop. Now you're gonna find this little effect and you can throw it on your first layer. You're gonna go to your effects panel and you can give 10% for the bottom and 10% for the top. Now in order to attach it to all of our clips, what I would simply do, I will just press copy and then I'll just paste attributes and I'll make sure that I am only pasting the crop. So the cinematic bars are super simple to do, yet they bring so much production value. So make sure to use them when you're editing these kind of cinematic B-rolls. If you've been getting value out of this video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials, product reviews, and to get general creativity and motivation for your channel. That is all for today, and as always, until the next time.